In every generation, a few rise above the noise. They don't just build businesses, they build legacies. This is Business Leaders Spotlight with T.C. Bradley, where CEOs, visionaries, and best-selling authors share the bold moves, defining moments, and untold stories behind their rise. The spotlight is on, and greatness is waiting. And it starts right now.
Welcome to another edition of Business Leader Spotlight. On set with me in the studio, I am thrilled to have a very good friend of mine, Dan Conneally, who is an expert in hard money lending in the real estate industry. He's an innovator. He's inspiring. He is somebody that I have been very excited about getting back on my program. Dan, glad to have you back in the studio.
Thank you, TC. My pleasure.
Dan, I have to tell you, I'm thrilled that you've agreed to come back into the studio for this show. It is such a relevant topic, and I've admired you from a distance, your tenacity in this industry, your knowledge base in the industry, the way you have been a voice of reason to so many people that are going through some financial trauma in their life and have this real estate problem. I really want to zone in and talk about this topic, and I've brought who I consider to be one of the top thought leaders and experts in this space to talk to you today about hard money lending, about some solutions for you, especially if you're behind the eight ball with your mortgage. There are some solutions for you that you might not know exist. So Dan, let's talk a little bit. Let's just take the gloves off right from the jump, and let's talk about hard money lending, that industry. Tell me a little bit about your background. I tried to give you a good introduction, but tell me a little bit about your background and what inspired you to really park your car as a specialty of your business and in the hard money space.
Well, TC, it's been a long time coming. It's been an unfolding for me. It's not something I just decided to get into. I kind of grew into it. Since I was a kid, I fell in love with Florida. Back when we went on the family vacation to Orlando, and I walk outside the room and it's warm at night, and I fell in love with Florida when I was 10, 11 years old. And my mother was in real estate for a minute, and I'd help her farm neighborhoods, and I remember the MLS book with the real thin paper, and it just always fascinated me. And then as I grew a little older, I started to see the infomercials with Dave Delgado and Carlton Sheets, and it just gave me a magic feeling inside. And through a series of events over my life, I ended up realizing my childhood dream by working at the mecca for creative real estate finance in the state of Florida. And I'll never forget that day when it happened, when I had that come to moment. And I realized my childhood dream came true without even realizing it. So that now and at that time I realized, wow, I have a career. And then a little short time after that, I realized it's not even a career, it's a lifestyle.
I admire that in you, and I think that it's not even a lifestyle for you. As far as me watching you in your career, it's been like a calling.
That's exactly what I was going to say next. And it went from a lifestyle to a calling. And when we use the term, I'm going to clarify something. When the people hear the term hard money, it's not something that's in their consciousness. They're generally not familiar with the term. Right. So there's a couple of terms that are synonymous. There's hard money, private money, hard equity, private equity. They all means the same thing, non-institutional financing. There's essentially two finance. There's institutional,
okay,
the regular, banks and credit unions, etc., Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA, all of that you can put in the container of institutional financing. And we do that too. when the person qualifies. But, there's a lot more fish in the pond that need help. And that's really what we specialize in, is helping Florida families. We only do this in the state of Florida. So we specialize in helping Florida families by helping them with non-institutional financing. And that allows us to be able to have some flexibilities that you're not going to find in an institutional world.
I will say this, is that you're not conventional in how you operate your business, and the reason I say that is that you and I have had dinner before, and we were having dinner, and we're in the middle of an intense conversation, you and I, about something that we were talking about, and your phone rang, and it was somebody needed help.
Right.
And you took the call, and
Right.
you excused yourself from the table, took this call from this gentleman, and you let your dinner get cold, but you took the call. And that's why I say for you, it's different. It's like a calling for you to break off that dinner and really sacrifice a meal because yours went cold while you're dealing with this topic. But what drives you? Why are you built that way to be so mindful of people that call you? Because is it because they're the people that reach out to you? It's sort of like they're in a desperate situation. They need the truth, right?
They do. They do, because people it's not something they deal with on a daily basis. So they're not familiar with the terms, the how-tos, the where-tos. So I take a minute and explain things. And it's not, every phone call is not a deal, but I make it my own policy to help everybody that calls. Even if it's not a deal, just to give them some clarity and some direction and some options. Every call is not a deal for me. A lot of them are, but many of them are not. And even when they're not, I give them clear instruction on their options and help educate them. And it's funny, every time at the end of the phone call, I always get, "Oh, damn, so glad we spoke. I get it." And that's when I usually, so that's really at that moment is when I get the most pleasure, is when I know their light bulb went on.
Oh, let me just say that I just think that there are so many people that are in these waters for the first time, and it is stressful. It is, you can't sleep at night. You don't know because you're not used to navigating these waters. And I think you said a big word. I think you said a big word, and this is going to help you at home that are watching this, and you're tuning in, and you think that maybe you tuned in by accident, and you're facing a situation like this. I will tell you that you're not here by accident. And Dan, I think you talked about a big term that people are not used to hearing: institutional financing. And I think you helped to really unpack that, because really what people normally deal with in the business world, in the conventional world, is institutional financing.
Right.
And yet, ladies and gentlemen, there's a whole world that exists, a whole different world. I would say a completely different universe in this non-institutional money that exists for people that are facing struggles in their personal life, and they have real estate, and they're looking for some solutions, whether they're in foreclosure, correct?
Right.
What are some of the situations that people may find
It's
yourself
not just people that are having problems.
in? Okay.
I have a lot of clients that are 700 and 800 credit, because not only do we
Interesting.
have flexibility in guidelines and what we can do, but we also have one of the things, we also have speed. I can close a deal I've done 2 deals in 3 days. That's my record.
Wow.
Twice. Generally, it's 5 to 15 days. So many times a person with 700 or 800 credit is trying to buy a place, and they're competing against somebody else. They don't want to use conventional financing because it's going to take a good 30 to 45 days. And in the market 2 or 3 years ago, people, able, documentable people didn't want to use the financing because it's going to take 30 to 45 days to close. And by that time, the seller's already accepted a cash offer, full price. So they want to be able to come in and also give a full price cash offer. Here's a little secret. When you use private money, it's the same as cash. when you use private money, you're able to submit a contract and check the box, not subject to financing. So people with higher credit were using private money to get the leverage of making a cash offer, but not having to use all their capital.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, I think you said something that speed to market is everything, right? Because if you have access to that type of cash, now you're able to close that deal. Now you're coming in as a cash buyer. If you were subject to institutional financing, it's a different conversation. It's a much different offer.
Right, and the
It's
seller
treated
doesn't want to
differently.
wait for the institutional money to be approved and come through. So 2 or 3 years ago, when rates were at 3-ish%, higher end people were using private money to be able to submit an offer as cash and be able to close quickly. Now, there are people that do have credit challenges. They're self-employed. That there's lots of different scenarios. And with the non-institutional financing, it offers the flexibility for the buyer or the homeowner that needs to refinance, the ability to be able to take care of whatever they got to take care of. And this is what we've specialized in for the last 20 plus years. We've developed and cultivated relationships with individuals that really don't trust the stock market. They really don't trust cryptocurrency, but they're okay with putting their money into a real estate deal in first lien position, and where they know they're insured, they have title insurance. It's the safest place for them to put their money and earn a healthy return.
It's interesting, that whole world that you found yourself in 20 years ago and how the landscape has changed in the last 20 years. But how's it changed just since the pandemic, Dan?
Well, it's changed a lot, because 3 years ago, somebody could buy a house, let's say, or refinance, and let's say they have a loan amount of $400,000. 3 years ago, you could get that money for about 3% institutionally. Nowadays, it's going to be 8-9%. So the interest rate is like tripled. The problem is the borrower, their income hasn't gone up as much as the rates have.
Right.
So now it creates, for example, a $400,000 loan at 3% is $1,686. Now a $400,000 loan at 9% is $3,218.
Wow.
Same house, same loan. The payment's almost doubled, but their income hasn't gone up.
Correct.
So when a seller's trying to sell and the buyer's looking at 9%, there's a lot fewer people that qualify. So the sale prices are starting to slide because people need to sell and move on with their life. And in order for the buyer to afford it, the only variable in that equation is the sale price. So you're starting to see prices slide.
Wow. Dan, fascinating talk. We want to take a short little break. I'm with Dan Conneally from Specialized Real Estate, one of the top hard money, how would you say it, hard money lenders in the Florida market, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to take a short time out. Fascinating talk. I'm enjoying it. I have more for you when you come back, but we're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with Dan after this short time out.
If you want to sell your house quickly without the hassle and no fees, then our simple selling process can help. We call it the Equity Protection Protocol. Unlike selling the old way through a real estate agent, our professional team handles everything from start to finish in selling your property. But we aren't real estate agents. We're real estate investors. And we'll buy your house for cash or give you alternative worry-free options to sell your house on your time frame. There's no stressful negotiations. The paperwork is fast and easy. You sell the property as is without the need to do any costly repairs or renovations. We pay all the closing costs, realtor commissions, and all other fees associated with selling a property. We'll even handle coordinating tenants. You won't have to deal with title companies, closing attorneys, real estate agents, repairs, contractors, and there are no fees to you. Best of all, you'll get the exact agreed upon selling price at closing without all the hassle. Here's how it works. First, we'll work with you to understand your needs and your situation to create a specialized solution for what's most important to you. Then we'll agree to a net price and a complete simple purchase agreement. With time and reasonable access to the property, we'll market to find and pre-screen our potential buyers, work with them to complete their inspections and appraisal, and get estimates for any repairs they may want us to complete for them. Once we've selected our buyer, you'll complete a simple buyer substitution agreement, and then it'll be time to prepare for closing. After our buyer closes, you'll get 100% of your net price that we originally agreed to, and your property is officially sold. We'll take care of any repairs for the buyer after we settle up with you. Again, you won't need to pay any fees, commissions, or do any repairs. And the entire process is hands-off and worry-free for you, since we'll handle everything. It's the easiest way to sell. Call today for your no-obligation offer.
All right, everybody, we are back on set with Dan Conneally, one of the top Florida hard money lenders in the market. And we're having an uncensored conversation, a very enlightening conversation for so many that are tuning in to today's show. But I know you're not the only hard money lender in Florida. What distinguishes you from the other lenders in the market, and how do you ensure that your clients are going to get the best terms and the best deal, I guess?
Well, here's another secret. Most hard money lenders in the state of Florida are going to have you put your house into an LLC. The minute you do that, you lose your homesteading. But you're not going to find that out until next November. And by that time, the loan officer is long gone.
That's a big deal.
That's huge.
Here in Florida, that is a very big deal.
It's huge. And we're the only company in the state of Florida that'll do a private money loan, 30-year fixed, no balloons, no adjustments, no gimmicks, no nonsense, no hassle, and allow the homeowner to maintain their homestead.
That's incredible, Dan. That's a huge distinction.
We stay busy.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that need help, and that's what we do. We specialize in special needs.
Why is it? What is the mentality? What is the reasoning for hard money lenders to make that request from homeowners to put their home in an LLC and give up that homestead exemption?
Because the borrower is super, super motivated. They're willing to do almost anything to save their house or to accomplish whatever it is they're set out to do. They'll do whatever, and it's not something that they're accustomed to. It's not something they're familiar with. So when somebody is telling you, do this, this, and this to get to where you want to go, they're willing to do whatever it takes. And many times they lose their homesteading. It's happened.
You've heard the horror stories, I'm sure.
I had a customer recently, about 6-9 months ago. Great guy. Has dreadlocks down to his ankles. He has got a green thumb. He can grow anything. He works in a nursery for the last 28 years. He had a lot of equity in his house. Somebody, this is on the east coast of Florida, somebody did some research in the neighborhood and found out he had a lot of equity in his house. Started calling him on a burner phone, telling him they're going to refinance him, they're going to give him cash, and this guy grows plants. He said, oh, okay. And went through with it. And they told him, you don't have to make more payments on your mortgage anymore because we're going to refinance you. So the guy stopped making payments. 3-4 months later, he's got a foreclosure filed against him. Then a property buyer showed up to strong-arm him into a contract, and he signed it. The only recourse he had was to file bankruptcy to kind of slow things down. His attorney reached out to me, and since we've become friends, sent the file over. It took a while to get it done, but we managed to save their house. Now, when a homeowner does a cash-out refinance on their primary residence, they have a 3-day right to rescind.
Correct.
Which is not, you can't waive that unless you're in imminent foreclosure. These people were in imminent foreclosure because during that 3-day rescission period, the house was set to go for sale.
Wow.
So we funded it on that first 3-day and were able to waive that 3-day right to rescind. And he was able to save his house, and we still had to pay the attorney $5,000 to go away. So it's real important that you deal with somebody that's professional. And unfortunately, when you get bad advice from an attorney or a loan officer or a real estate agent, you don't have a lot of recourse.
And you know, there are so many different possibilities for people that exist to find a solution to their issue, whatever it may be. And it's amazing to me when you take your calls that come in. I mean, every call is different for you, isn't it?
It is. I had one on the way here today. Driving down 75, I had a lady call up in Clearwater. And we went over her scenario. And she's in a little bit of a position because somebody else gave her an interest-only loan. And she's not seeing any principal pay down. And she's got a couple issues, and she's not going to qualify for institutional money, but she owns a house, I'm going to say a $230,000 house in Clearwater, block house. She owes a little money on it, not much. She needs some to buy a car. So we're going to be able to help her.
I think one of the biggest challenges that I see for people that are in a situation like this and they need help is finding the authentic voice. Finding somebody that's not going to tell you what you want to hear, but tell you the truth. And what's cool about you is that if you don't have the answers or you're not able to help, you still try to leave them better than what you found them.
I found them, exactly.
And educate them as well to the process.
A lot of my reviews, at the end of the conversation, I asked them if they'd be willing to, give me a nice review, even though we weren't able to achieve a deal. And they always do, because they have a level of understanding that they didn't have at the beginning of the conversation.
You have so many stories of people that you've helped. Tell me another. I love to hear the stories of people that are everyday people.
There's hundreds of them.
Well, I know you do have hundreds. Give me a couple more.
I'll give you my favorite one.
Yeah, give me your favorite.
Mr. and Mrs. Smythe, up in either Pasco or Hernando, I don't remember which. They have some investment properties, and they were selling an investment property because they had, previously years ago, they had adopted a little girl. And they were selling an investment property. Apparently, it's pretty expensive to adopt a child. They needed 50, 60 grand to adopt another child. But this wasn't any child. This was the sister of the first child. And the deal fell through. The buyer's financing fell through. I should call me. But the deal fell through. And so we ended up doing a loan. But the loan had to be closed no later than whatever it was, 5 or 6 days. I mean, it was all hands on deck, because if we didn't have the capital available for Mr. and Mrs. Smythe, somebody else was lined up to take the kid. So they had to be able to produce.
Wow.
So
pressure was on.
Yeah, it was. I dropped everything for them, and it was so cool. The little girl, she was drawing in the closing room, coloring a coloring book, and we got it closed on time. They got their capital. They were able to go through with the adoption, and were able to keep the sisters together.
And what's really nice about you is that the 20 years experience that you have in this industry, in a highly specialized industry, you have developed very loyal relationships with people in multiple different verticals. And that loyalty has given you access to solutions for people that normal people don't have access to, right?
It's true. And I noticed, in looking back in my life over the last 20 years, I kind of always like getting back to what you first asked me about getting into real estate. How did I get into real estate and lending? Because on August 24th, 2011, I made a decision. And that was to bear my cross. And everything that I have that's good in my life now is directly attributed to bearing my cross. And so I made some personal adjustments, and since then, the blossom, everything's blossomed.
God has blessed your life.
It's blossomed like it's like a kaleidoscope. It's an endless loop of a kaleidoscope where it just keeps blossoming and blossoming and blossoming, and then it just grows and grows and grows. And now I'm at a space where I can really cool it and just focus on literally helping Florida families.
Serving people.
Exactly.
Serving. Coming from a heart of service.
Correct.
Okay, Dan, we're almost out of time, in this show, and you got to promise to come back. I think there's so much, it's such a fascinating topic for me, and I think we're just scratching the surface and we're almost out of time. But here's what I want you to do. Right now, there's people that are tuning in. They're stressed like you would not believe because they have found themselves in some troubled waters financially, and they have this house that they need to save. I want you to speak into that camera, and I want you to give them a message of hope and inspiration, and give them some guidance if you wouldn't mind, sir.
First of all, I want you to know that everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. I don't know what your details are. If you're welcome to contact me, and we can go over your details. We can put a plan of action together and leave you better than you were. I can't guarantee that it's what the outcome's going to be, but I do know that it will be better and everything will be okay. Maybe it'll go as you hope. Maybe there'll be some options that you're not aware of right now that I can share with you. And when you take a look at it from a different angle, you'll see that maybe this idea is better or more doable than what you had thought. In any case, reach out, call me, contact me. We'll have a private one-on-one, either on the phone or in person, based in Tampa, and you'll be better than, you'll at least have some peace of mind and a course of action that you can trust and rely on.
Dan Conneally, thank you so much for coming
Thanks
on
for
our
having
show.
me, TC.
Now, you're going to come back and see me?
Yes, I will.
We're going to drop Dan's information down below. Make sure you reach out to this incredible servant leader, somebody that is making a dent in the universe. If you can just, listen, if you can just help one family, it's worth it, right, to be on the show. But I think you're going to impact a lot of families, Dan. I'm a big believer in the calling that's on your life, and I'm so thankful for our friendship as well. And I look forward to having you back on the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Reach out to Dan. We're going to drop his information down below. And reach out to Dan.